gonna come back. Uh, Not a whole lot going on right now. I'm gonna play GTA 5 here in a little bit, a few minutes. I can't play too long of a session today though. I gotta take off here in a little bit, maybe 2 or 3 hours. We'll see how it goes. But first, there was some stuff I wanted to talk about and possibly put up as a felony talk video. Let me get over here in my chat real quick, make sure everything is good to go. Okay, Sam pops in. Alrighty. Um, One of the things that I noticed got me in trouble on UFO Twitter immediately was asking questions that either people didn't have the answer to or they didn't want to answer. Uncomfortable questions, controversial questions, however you want to put it. That's a big part of these guys' having friends, is who will ask a question that's going to put you on the spot, and this is what one way to make enemies very fast is asking the wrong questions. And it's the way a lot of these scams and just the slime ball shit that goes on a regular basis over there. A lot of it's a lot of how it survives, how it exists without getting exposed, is people allow this era of don't ask questions to the big accounts. It's gonna come with backlash, and I don't know what it is with me, but I just can't seem to follow these dumbass UFO Twitter social rules. From day one, I was stepping on landmines every day, and you see these go along to get along types that they go, they're around, they ain't getting, but the tough questions, it just always seemed to be what got me blacklisted with little, subgroups on UFO Twitter quickly. And that's kind of what this felony talk's going to be about, is some of the tough questions that got me in trouble. And first off, the first question I want to talk about is is Chupacabra, Red Panda Koala, are they working for a higher name and doing their bidding on UFO Twitter? And this is a question that seems to get a lot of, pushback, and you'll get the anonymous attack socks popping up and all that. And um one thing I want people to really pay attention to is when Red Panda Koala and Chupacabra accuse people of things. Watch what accusations they make. Because one of the things I have found following this I call them a cyber cult, is everything they accuse others of doing, they're actually doing. And you won't see it now, but when I go back on YouTube and what I do by edit for YouTube, I'll put up some examples as I'm talking about them now. Uh, Panda and Tupa accused LP of having a giant server, and that she was keeping information on everyone in the community. We now know that was actually Red Panda Koala doing that. There's been screenshots of the server, and I'll put a couple up when I do the edits, so watch back when I put it up on YouTube later. His server is extensive. From what I've seen in the screenshots, I've seen the files. I haven't seen into the files, but I've seen which files he has on people, and it's people that don't get into drama. They're, random people are on it that are just older people in the community that are just here to talk about aliens and spooky stuff. He would have files even for them. So that's one that they definitely, are guilty of. The server, the keeping information to harness it against others later. The next one, let's talk about hate swarming. They're often accusing Lou Elizondo and, the Lou crew of hate swarming. I did a whole video on it, and I'll put it up here. And it was to a point where these newer accounts like this data perception guy, this Alex guy. I don't know if that's a sock or what, but they were these newer accounts. They were actually tagging Red Panda Koala in their attacks on people, in their group attacks. Like, look what I'm doing for you, Panda. And I actually got him in a space in one of my recorded spaces the other day, and I asked him, I'm like, did you tell them to quit tagging you? And he said yes. Like, he knows. Like, you're linking your connection to hate swarming back to me. So their Tupa crew is guilty of hate swarming. Scams, of course, and that's gonna go on to my next one, which is the next question. That seemed to get me jammed up for asking. The UFO monologue competition. Was that a rigged competition? By my standards, absolutely it was a rigged competition. And I'll talk a little bit about that. Um, this monologue competition, nobody ever really gave a clear explanation on, first off, who invested, where did the money come from for the prize winnings. I heard it was $8,000, it was $5,000, but I'll just go ahead and give a quick rundown of what it looked like from my point of view. There was suddenly Panda and his crew were whispering about this monologue competition, and these guys live in these Twitter spaces all day talking about UFOs and aliens. So they're saying, well, let's have a competition to see who's best at talking about UFOs and aliens and dumb shit. And that's what they did. And lots of people in the community were excited about it. But from the very beginning, everyone was kind of saying, "Well, how are you going to do it? Is it going to be fair?" Um, the information I always had is the Red Panda Koala, Benny, and now I know Rich Universe were three of the five judges. They're now kind of changing it. Rich Universe was saying that Panda and Benny weren't judges, even though they've openly said in spaces that they were for the last year. But if that alone is true, if three of the five judges were Tupa simps, one of them being Red Panda Koala, and I heard he was the deciding judge if there was a tie, then it's rigged. It's full stop. You don't even need to go any farther. If those people were on the judge panel, it was rigged. Um, there's questions I have about it. What how was the money paid out? Like, where was it a check? Was it cash? Did you pay taxes on the winnings? I know any winnings over what, like $1,500, you got to pay taxes on. And something interesting is all the information, the scorecards, the person, the one account that was credited for putting this thing on, they're gone, vanished. Vanished and can't find them. I went on, I googled it. The links still exist. UFO Twitter monologue competition. You click on them, they've all been deleted. This is a common tactic the Tuba crew uses. They did the same thing with the Rogers coin scam. They went back and tried to clear any mention of it. When they were setting it up, when it was crashing, they wanted all of it gone. Of course, you can't get all of it because they were posting about it so much. So that leads to another question. Why are these guys going back and deleting entire eras of their UFO Twitter life if they're not doing anything wrong? Why was it erased from existence? Why? Why can't we see the scorecards? And I heard a story. This is the story I was told in a space. The first round, Red Panda Koala, I've heard him in spaces say that he was the deciding judge. He was like the tiebreaker judge. And the story I heard is in the first round, one of the other judges that wasn't a Tupa simp, he kind of got the idea of what was going on. And he gave Tupa a zero, gave him a zero. Well, what I heard is Panda and Benny and probably Rich, they were caught off guard by this, and they actually had to go change their scores because they were trying to be fair. But when they saw one of the other judges actually gave him a zero, they had to up their scores to fill in that gap because it left an unexpected gap in the, numbers where they were trying to make it look like, but you can't see these. Where are these cards? Where is this information? Where can we look at it? I'll show you when I get over on my other window. I have where I proof that I went and looked for it, and they're deleted. They're cleared. Yeah, and these are just questions that I was asking when I was newer to UFO Twitter, and this is how you end up blacklisted on UFO Twitter. My recollection of the monologue competition, people were actually kind of excited about it, but everyone was weary. Like, dude, is sounds kind of weird. But when we started getting the entries, some of them were really good, and Brian Johnson's I remember was really good. Tupacabra's in no way should have won. Uh, there was nothing like thought provoking in it. It was just more of like his UFO Twitter Spaces alien like word salad. It was just ancient aliens mishmash. Like nobody with a fucking brain would have picked that on top of all of them. And I listened to a lot of them, probably a good percentage of them. Brian Johnson's was really, really strong. The Astrals was really good. Some of them were you wonder if these guys even passed the sixth grade. Like I remember listening to Wakaka's, and it was just some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard. But that is my remembrance of when the competition was actually going on, and I remember us talking in back channels and in spaces and saying, if Tupa wins this thing, obviously it's rigged. But we gotta give it a chance and wait and see. Like maybe he won't. But of course he fucking did. And I'm just letting you all know this thing in my opinion, this is my theory. We need better minds than mine to look into it. This is what I'm asking for. Is some of these podcasters and bigger names to stop being afraid of these guys, these truth seekers out here, and start actually looking into what's happening on UFO Twitter. Stop swallowing their bullshit, truth seekers. And from my recollection, this competition was created for Tupa to win. That was why they got the backing. I don't know who the investors were because you're not allowed to ask questions. Um, but it was created for Chupacabra to win and to put him in the spotlight, like to put a big, get his name known in ufology. He's the premier voice on UFO Twitter because he won the idiot monologue competition. That was the whole point of this thing. And where the fuck did this $8,000 come from? Like, aren't you curious, Cambion, where this $8,000 came from, bro? Like, don't you want to know? Like, I know some of y'all have curious minds, but it's the gatekeeper aspect. It's not worth fighting with these assholes. They've seen what happened to me. And this is gonna bring me to the last question I have, and I've had this question for quite a while. Nobody can really give me a answer on it. First, let's go ahead and pull up this right here. When I talk about their hate swarms, this is one of them. These guys are popping up every day. This account right here. Irvy! Look at these generic, stupid ass accounts. And what they use these for is to ratio conversations. That, dude, it's probably Panda or Tupa on that fucking thing. That's something people don't like give any possibility in their mind to, but these guys live this shit, so they're running around on dozens of these accounts and they're always making new ones. They only attack a certain way. You will never see these anonymous attack socks going at Panda or Tupa. It's only us. And look what this idiot says, like, the whiny Marxist. He called me a Marxist. Um, Schizobabble. For for asking questions about this monologue competition that was pushed on the community. And they're logical questions. Who started it? Where did the funding come from? Can we see the scorecards? It's that's not schizo behavior. It's just not allowed in the world of UFO Twitter to ask real questions. It's just not allowed. And this is what happens when you do. You start getting anonymous hate socks attacking you because these guys are too cowardly to go and say the shit they want to say on socks, on their main accounts. And you know what they did with the monologue competition? Shane, UFO Shane, all of a sudden was doing an investigation. Are you fucking shitting me? Who gives a rat's ass what that guy says about anything? UFO Shane was lying for months about working for Skinwalker Ranch. Brandon Fugel had to come into a Twitter space and tell that idiot to shut his mouth, you don't work for us. After an incident like that, where it was in a public space, we were all in there, nobody should find this guy credible anymore. That's common sense. Like, that's over the line. You need to take your opinion and investigation and stick it up your ass, you moron. Here's this. This is proof that when you go looking for the monologue competition, and look at it, it even says scoring breakdown. UFO Talk image. See this UFO Talk Radio. This was an account that was running around, and it was always real like shady on who was setting it up. From day one, why would you have members of UFO Twitter be the judges? Like, why? If you wanted it to be taken seriously, you can't find a couple science teachers or something? Like, you have the entire internet at your disposal. Why would Rich Universe be on the judging panel? God, so stupid. But this is what you get is, no results. They've cleared it. And if that was on the up and up, why? Why would you clear that stuff? It's because they don't want researchers looking into it. There, the pieces of the puzzle were out there at one time, but yeah, a lot of them have been deleted. That's why when Tupa says this prove it shit in a lot of these spaces, it's kind of a bullshit tactic because they're doing things like this. The Rogers coin is the same thing. You'll find the link and then it's deleted. Why? What are you guys hiding? If you're not ashamed or worried about your past behavior, why are you scrubbing your past behavior on Twitter? Uh, this is this is the last one I'm gonna talk about here. Um, and the main question I have for this one, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and set it up. I've talked about this girl quite a bit. Jess solves problems. She's a Tupa groupie minion now. Um, and I mentioned in I don't know if it was my video or if it was during my stream. I had like 5 or 6 people in, and they were asking questions about it. And I was kind of thinking about it. I was explaining how she would always use real weird, vulgar language, like the word cock and stuff, and it was always to kind of like fluster me, like everything seemed like a mind fuck. And I was thinking about how like difficult it probably is for people who have only seen her being this like polite, nice girl in these spaces to kind of wrap their mind around that because I'm a druggy fucking loudmouth, right? Like, so it is probably hard for people to understand. And then I remembered I have a conversation clearly displays what a typical conversation with this girl was when I was tangled up with her in that whatever it was. She was trying to paint it as a relationship. Now she tries to write it as someone else, but the Twitter boo stuff, I don't know if people remember me saying Twitter boo. That was a lot of her. Like if I was talking to other girls, she would talk shit about them. Ursula and Marie, I was in spaces with them. She would trash on them. She needed to know the like she was the only girl I was like really having phone calls and stuff with. So, like, as obnoxious as a lot of that Twitter boost stuff was, it was like her reinforcement because she would threaten self harm and all kinds of wild shit if I ignored her or cut her off for a couple days. Now the Tupa crew's platforming her, so she has new friends. But so I'm gonna go ahead and expand this, and I know a lot of people look down on sharing like text messages, DMs, all that shit. This isn't a private conversation. This is a psyop. So I don't really feel bad here. This girl is just trying to run me into the ground mentally. So it's not really like sharing like a heartfelt. Looking back on it now, I know what it is. So I'm willing to kind of cross that line here, but I'll go ahead and blow this up so people can see it, and we'll go over this. This was a typical conversation with her, and so it started here. It says, "I love giving a blowjob. I can't help it. It's my oral fixation and my self-destructive behavior." And at this point, I'm so used to this type of stuff that I'm kind of wearing thin on it. But I'm always understanding and patient. So my first response is I'm sure the dudes are stoked. And also in my brain, like in my real brain, I know that she's just playing me and catfishing and psyoping me. I just didn't want to accept it. Like I didn't want to accept it yet because I had spent a lot of hours talking to her. I had shared a lot. I was in too deep at that point. But I say I'm sure the dudes are stoked. And that was my way to just kind of like try to move the conversation to something normal. Because I've never encountered girls talking like this. And the reason I kind of catered to it is because I have addiction problems. I'm a drug addict. I talk openly about struggling with drug addiction. And I always kind of looked at it as a sex addiction I've heard about. And I didn't understand it, but I tried to be, patient with her. I didn't want to call her, bad names, things like that. Even though she's telling me she likes giving random blowjobs, just out of nowhere. Um, and then I say the dudes are stoked. I'm sure the dudes are stoked, and I'm a little annoyed. But here's her responses. I love watching lesbian porn too. Is this killing you inside secretly? 'Cause that's not my goal. Well, that was always your goal. Like it was always your goal to razzle me and get me fucked up mentally. She would use guys in the community to try to make me jealous. And I'm just gonna give one story that she did. She when she joined the community, she realized who my enemies were, like Tupa, Panda, these other people. And one day she told me that she had known Tupa for your years and they were really close. And this was always just to try to upset me. She never would let things just be smooth. It was a psyop roller coaster, up and down, up and down. Barrage with nudies and then this kind of conversation, up and down, hypersexualized. Um, and and she told me that she had known Tupa for your years and they were really close. And I was a little annoyed, whatever. So I shot back at her. Well, that's weird because I just DM'd Panda and Tupa and they say they've never heard of you. And she melted. She started telling me, why would you ruin my life online? I actually have the conversations of that. I had two phones, and one phone got broken that has a lot of the conversations, and then my new phone has the other half of our relationship on it. I'm working on getting the other one unlocked. But she melted I never did DM them. I was just fucking with her because I was tired of her fucking with me. And so I just told her, I just DM'd Tupa and he says he's never heard of you. So she went ape shit. She was threatening self-harm. It was just out of control. And I cut her off for a while, but that led up to the night on Christmas where she went to jail and I let her back in. But it was that I caught her in one of her goofy lies, because that's kind of what she was about, was weird manipulative lies to try and trigger me or upset me. That's all it seemed like it was. And this was I'm gonna go ahead and show my typical response here, because she paints me as something really awful on on their in their little weirdo cult. And this was a typical way I would handle it. And I said at the bottom there, I said, no, it makes me think you're a little crazy though. And she said, fuck. And then I say, what? That's not healthy. I get enjoying being kinky and shit, but you're describing a self-destructive sex addiction. And the thought of you recklessly meeting random partners just to be able to give a blowjob makes me want to cry and makes me worry about your safety. Just being honest. I cared about this girl. I cared about her a lot. She was throwing the L word at me and stuff. Like, I helped her through when she went to jail. Um, I didn't want it to go badly, and I say I'm just being honest. And I say you're chasing something, and you have this guy right in front of you that would drop everything and come be with you and never hurt you and do anything, but you would rather meet randoms because you like giving blowjobs. Yeah, it's sad, Jess. It makes me sad. Like, yeah, it bothers me. Are you happy now? And yeah, that's what she wanted. And then I say it's cut off, but I'm not mad at you or anything. This was a typical conversation with this girl. There's hundreds more in there. Tell me that's not a psyop and that girl wasn't just fucking with my head. And, you know, that kind of brings me to my last question. This is an uncomfortable question because I nobody seems to answer it when I put it out on UFO Twitter. Who sent that girl? Who sent that girl to infiltrate my DMs? Because at the time I met her, she was a vetted mod. She was a mod for vetted podcasts, okay? At that time, KMF and I think it would have been uplifting. They were going in vetted and saying vetted is dog shit and all that stuff. And I got grouped in with that, even though I never bothered vetted. I would laugh and but so vetted Patrick, did you send this girl to come and creep into my DMs and start having weird ass conversations with me? Like what was it? What is this shit about? Um, from day one when I met her, uh, she she was barraging me with nudes and trying to get me to send D pics back. Like it was instant, and it went up to a point where I had to confront her and say, "Stop pressuring me for D pics. Like you're making me feel weird. You're making me feel like you're trying to extort me." Then she backed off a little, but we still had weird ass conversations like that. Um, I want to know who sent that girl, cause there was nothing natural. We didn't meet naturally, and that's one of those questions that for some reason I become a bad guy for asking. I'm the victim in all this. These goonbags tried to extort me and I didn't fall for it. Like that's the reality of this situation here. But that's the reason I showed that little conversation is because I understand why a lot of people would probably not believe some of the things I've said, like, the way she talks and stuff. But that is the real person right there. The quiet, shy, that it's a gimmick. I 100% believe this is somebody who does this all day long online to men everywhere. I'm not the only one in the community, and it's extortion. So I'm not the bad guy here. People need to start looking at things like what they fucking are. Um, but yeah, that's really uh, the last thing I want to talk about is hard questions, difficult questions. Why do you get alienated for asking? And they could very easily just answer these questions that I have. They won't. They'll just go into space, huddle away in their little hate cult, and talk shit. But I think these are all questions that are fair to ask. Because this girl wrecked me mentally for several months. She tried to isolate me from my friends, and to act like there's no witnesses is insane. One of the things that uh, I was doing when she would spit that crazy shit at me like that, I would show the female friends I had and be like, is this normal? Like, is this normal behavior online? So there's lots of women that have seen these DMs, her saying cock, all that weird shit. And because I would ask, because I had never been in an online long distance relationship like that. So it's not like this happened in a vacuum where it's just my word. Um, but yeah, Patrick, you send this girl. Why did you? Oh, and more questions. Why did you release her as a mod? Did that have something to do with what she was her behavior and trying to extort people? Patrick, I know she told me a story the first day I met her. She talked about how she was getting close with Jason Sands and that he had given her too much information and it caused friction between you and Sands and James Fox. She said that he got all obsessed with her. If that did happen, she was the one. She was the one manipulating him because she's done it to several others. So that's the last thing I want to say. I did warn Jason Sands because she told me straight up she was honeypotting him. She used those words. And I did DM him a while back and just say straight up, if this girl is sending you photos and stuff, she's not your friend. She's saying shit about you. She tried to put me against another guy in the community. That's kind of her tactic. Just watch it. But yeah, that's the truth of the situation. So if anyone has answers to any of these fucking questions, they're free to pop in the stream and let me know. And the UFO monologue competition thing, I'm speaking with someone right now. The just I need people that have tech skills that are better than mine and financial intelligence because a lot of this shit's over my head. But the it's obvious. We just need someone with a brain to put it all together. I think it could be put and displayed pretty clearly if someone had the testicular courage to look into it. Because I can't do it all on my own. But I'll keep you all up to date on it and stay with me to watch GTA. If you want to support financially, buymeacoffee.com/DJFelony and stay tuned to catch my fully edited video. It'll be up probably later tonight. I'm gonna put some extra work into the edit, so it might be a little later, but it'll be up. I got more screenshots and DMs and stuff to put up. So thanks for watching. Peace out.